Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The author has introduced the concept of reflected consciousness. What has he said? In our minds, there is one function of the mind, which is the ego, the sense of I. That's generated by the mind. Now, one thing that the ego does, the function of the ego is to appropriate all the functions of the body-mind, to say that I am talking, I am sitting, I am walking, I am understanding, I remember, I forget, I enjoy, I suffer, I. This is, we are all experience it. This is the ego. And it's a necessary function. But what it does also is, it reflects consciousness, or a reflection of consciousness is formed in the ego. Just like if you stand in front of a mirror, a reflection of your face will be formed in the mirror. If you keep a pot of water out there, a reflection of the sun will be formed. A tiny little sun you'll find shining in the water of the pot. He gives an example of iron ball and fire. When the iron ball is heated in the fire, then the heat enters into the iron ball, and the iron ball gets some of the properties of fire, some of the attributes, that it becomes hot, it shines, it glows. Similarly, the ego, which by itself is not conscious, because of the reflected consciousness, now it feels conscious. Further, the ego transmits this borrowed consciousness to the rest of the mind, to the sense organs, and to the rest of the body. Therefore, now we feel like this bundle of body-mind consciousness. So this is body, mind, and reflected consciousness which is coming from the ego. This is what we are right now. We feel like this. What are we truly? Sakshi. So I am Sakshi, but right now somehow I feel I am body, mind, reflected consciousness. What is the point of confusion? What is the point of contact? What is the point of error? Ego. So now the attention has to be drawn to the ego. Before we go on, this whole thing can be captured in an exercise. This exercise was designed by Greg Good, who is an American psychologist working in New York, but very much influenced. For many decades he has been practicing Vedanta, studied Vedanta very well. You can look him up. G-R-E-G, Greg, G-O-O-D-E. He has a number of very specialized books on Advaita Vedanta. So they are not very popular, but they are very high quality. He gave a talk in our Vedanta Society of New York. You can see there's a talk by Greg Good. Okay. Here is the exercise. Locate the I. Actually, one really cannot, but psychologically, let us try to locate the I. We all feel I. Now, Greg Good is asking the question, where do you feel the I? Now, he says, sitting straight, relaxed, mentally draw, look at me, mentally draw a line, a horizontal line through your waist. So, below that line and above that line. Now, if you are forced to choose, which part do you find the ego in? The sense of ego, I. Now, if you are forced to locate it, where is it more obvious? Is it in your thighs, in your knees, in your feet, or above the waist? Hardly anybody will say, my ego is in the knee. They'll say, Swami, you wait till you get knee pain, then you will realize. But we generally locate ego above the waist. Now draw a second line here, through the chest like this. Above this and below this. Where do you locate the ego? If you are forced to locate the ego, above this chest line or below the chest line? Above. Very few people will say, I locate the ego, in the belly. No, above. Go further. Now draw a line through the neck. Horizontal line like this. Is the ego above the neck, or just notice? Don't try to give a theoretical answer. Notice, where does it feel? Where am I? Above the neck or below the neck? Some might say below, many will say above. Some, it's all okay, whichever you choose. Because some feel I am here. The chest feels very much like I. But many feel above, somewhere in the head space. And there is a reason why we feel why the ego is, you feel, not that the ego is actually located in the skull, but you feel that the ego is located somewhere here. We feel that. The reason, very good reason. The reason is that the head, especially face, it contains so many of our sense organs. Eyes are here, ears are here, nose, tongue, and especially the skin of the face is very sensitive. So our sensory presence is very strong here. And we have also learned that the mind is a function in the brain, and the brain is also located here. So we have a strong sense that I am here, in this place. Now, Greg Good says, to draw two lines, vertical lines, like this, not like this, like this. Draw it from here of the skull and one through here. So, trisecting the skull into three parts. One part here, here. One part here, one part here, one part here. Now try to feel, is the ego here or somewhere in between? Are you following this exercise? Yes. Somewhere in between. And most people will agree, not all, but most people will agree, somewhere in the space behind the eyes, or maybe little above the eyes, or just behind the eyes, forehead, or just behind the eyes, somewhere in the brain, inside the skull, just behind it, I. It feels most comfortable to say, I am here. Right? Yes. Slowly, settle down. Now focus on that. Center yourself in the space between the eyes, wherever it feels comfortable to you, however you feel. You must feel it. I. You feel the I there. I am, I, Sarvapriyananda, I am there. Now listen. You must do this instantaneously. I am there. To whom is this I feeling appearing? See, when I say I am here in the space between the eyebrows, this is where it feels comfortable to say the ego is. This is also an experience. Who or what is experiencing the ego in the space between the eyebrows? Go from the sensation of the ego in that space as if turning inwards. I cannot describe it any better. Turn towards the one who is watching the ego. If you do it properly, you will find a sudden stillness and silence. You will suddenly be beyond thoughts, beyond any sense of thinking, sensing, body, ego. What it is, you cannot say. You will observe a total silence, stillness of body, stillness of sensations, stillness of no thought, and a gap between ego and whatever I am, the witness of the ego. When you are comfortable, gently open your eyes, gently, slowly. Now, this is as precise as I can make it in your inner field, phenomenologically. Vedanta is not telling us to do that right now, but this is an exercise. Now, you may ask, at that point, when I have located the ego and I have understood what you are saying, yes, that's also an experience. I feel I am here. But this one is an experience. Who is experiencing? What is experiencing the ego here? What is the drashta of the ego? Then which one are you? Are you the ego? Because the ego is an object now. The moment you say it is here, it's an object. It's an object to whom? Don't give an answer. Locate it. Till that point you have located ego. From there you go, you will not be able to locate it. I'll tell you precisely what has to be done. If you can follow. These are extremely subtle matters. One Swami, he told me, Shashankanandaji, he told me, once in the ashram there's an aquarium. Have you seen an aquarium, fish swimming? Yeah. What do the little fish do when they reach the end of the aquarium? They will go to the end and then turn. And then again they go like this and then turn. He says, at that point, make the turn. Nothing more can be explained. That ego, that's the end of the aquarium, is that ego. From there, this turn you must make. But you cannot objectify. What will happen is, you will be it. If you feel the ego is your object, you have got it. Don't try to further objectify the Sakshi. You cannot. You'll make a mistake. Either you'll give yourself a headache, or mind will generate a delusion then. You are not an object. You are the Sakshi. From the ego, make this turn. This one. Then see what happens. The state should be, the ego is an object to me. Ahankara na aham chidananda rupa shivoham. Anyway, that's the exercise. But he told me that, see, one from the mind turn back, like the macher motan korte hobe. Very nice idea. But you have to understand that in context. Really, you cannot flip back from there. What you have to do is, the finest point of the mind is the ego. The last objective point is the ego. It's like the shining mirror. It's like looking at your face in the mirror. Looking at the mirror, in the mirror you will see your face. From that face in the mirror, come back to the real face. How, if you ask me, I can't help you. You have to, only thing I can say, last thing is like this.
You had also given an analogy of solar eclipse.
That is a little sophisticated one, but we'll not go into that now. Let us go a little further. Oh, not further. I'm going to explain reflected consciousness. This is verses 6 and 7, which we just did now. I'm going to give a little big picture, which is worth knowing these things. What was 6? Chichaya veshato buddho bhanam. Big question is that, how does pure consciousness become jiva? How does Brahman become jiva? How does pure consciousness become reflected consciousness? Sakshi become reflected consciousness? How? How am I the witness now, this body-mind consciousness? To answer this, in Advaita Vedanta, 3 models have been developed. One is called the limitation model, Avachedavada. The other one is called the reflection model, Pratibimbavada. Third one is called the false reflection model, Abhasavada. Who did these? First of all, which one does Shankaracharya support? All of them, because they are all drawn from Shankara's commentaries on the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutra. Now, who has done this? The Abhasavada is the model followed by the Bhamati school. The great post-Shankara Advaitin was there, Vachaspati Mishra. Now, he was not just an Advaitin, he was a master of all the traditional philosophies, all the 6 systems. He has written masterful works on Sankhya, on Mimamsa, on Yoga also. Yoga, I think. And Advaita Vedanta. So Vachaspati Mishra's profound, great commentary on Advaita Vedanta is called Bhamati. It is the commentary on the Shankaracharya's commentary on the Brahma Sutras. Yesterday we said Vedanta is Prasthanatraya, Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita. And Shankara has written commentaries on all 3. That Brahma Sutra commentary, which is Shankara's masterpiece, on that a sub-commentary, Tika, exists, written by Vachaspati Mishra, which is very influential, which is called Bhamati, which set up its own school of Advaita Vedanta, known as the Bhamati school. Bhamati was his wife's name. You know the very beautiful story. When he was getting married, he was a householder, Vachaspati Mishra. He was getting married. It seems part of the marriage ceremony was debate on philosophy. That part must have been, it's gone now. Now it's Bollywood song, it's taken over everything. So it seems, I don't know, it's a story. So when they were debating, at that time, hot new philosophy was Advaita Vedanta. So the Pandits were debating and Vachaspati Mishra was getting more and more angry. It's all wrong what they are saying. But he cannot say anything. It is his marriage. He is the bridegroom, is to keep quiet. So he said, after the marriage, I will write a book which will settle all these controversies. Will give a correct interpretation of Shankara's system of Vedanta. So after that, he started writing his commentary on Shankara's commentary. Now, day and night he was engaged. Time passed. Years later, one day in the evening, as evening was falling, he saw a lady enter his room and put a lamp. He was taken aback. He said, "Who are you? Why have you come into my room at this late hour?" She started shedding tears and said, "I am your wife. This is the first time in years of marriage that you have spoken to me. All these years I have been taking care of you. You are busy in that book only." The story. So after many years of marriage, so he was very sad that this has happened. So I have not been able to give you anything. Tell me your name. He didn't even know her name. So it is possible in those days, arranged marriages. She said, "My name is Bhamati," which means luminous intellect. Intellect illumined by reflected consciousness. No, that's my interpretation. But Bhamati means luminous intellect. Bhamati, my name is Bhamati. And Vachaspati Mishra said, "I name my commentary Bhamati. This book will be named Bhamati. As long as people study Vedanta on this world, your name will be remembered." And that is true. In the 21st century, I was telling people in America, we are sitting in Manhattan and studying Vedanta. We are talking about Bhamati, who passed away 1,000 years ago in India. So that is his approach is Avachedavada. Then limitation, it's called limitation theory. What it is, we'll see. Then another school of Vedanta is there, which traces itself to Padmapada Acharya, who is Shankaracharya's direct disciple, favorite disciple, Padmapada. And Padmapada wrote a book called Panchapadika, which is again a commentary on Shankaracharya's commentary on Brahma Sutras. That Panchapadika was later expanded upon by another master called Prakashatmayati, who wrote a book, Panchapadika Vivaranam. The Panchapadika Vivaranam is a commentary on the Panchapadika, which is a commentary on the Brahma Sutra Bhashya of Shankaracharya, which is a commentary on Brahma Sutra. So this school is now known as Vivarana school. Technically, if you ask, you Ramakrishna mission monks, Ramakrishna order, which school would you belong to? We all belong to the Vivarana school, technically, because it traces descents directly from Shankara. So all monks will belong to this school, Vivarana school. The monks have a unique way of referring to the Bhamati school. Somebody said, "But it is said like this in Bhamati," and they will say in Hindi, "हाँ, वो मिश्रा जी का वेदांत है." Mishra ji is Vachaspati Mishra. There is a third development which traces itself to Sureshwaracharya, a great scholar, a disciple of Adi Shankaracharya, who wrote the Vartikas, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashya Vartika, the Manasollasaka Vartika on Dakshinamurti Stotra, the Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashya Vartika. He is known as Vartikakara. Shankaracharya is known as Bhashyakara. Vartika is a form of commentary in verses. Now, Sureshwaracharya wrote the commentaries on Shankaracharya's works. They are known as Vartikas in poetry form. What does the Vartikakara do? Uktanukta duruktancha. Whatever has been said by Shankaracharya, I will explain. Whatever has been left, fill in the blanks, I will explain. Whatever has been said by Shankaracharya, but durukta, that means very difficult, wait, I will elucidate. That is the job of Vartikakara. Now it is said, his view, I am saying it is said because the development took place after him. It is said his view was a separate view called Abhasavada. But this was taken up by the Panchadashikara, which is Vidyaranya Swami in the Vijayanagar kingdom. Several hundred years after Sureshwara, about 700 years ago from now on. This book follows the Abhasavada. That's why there is one of the reasons to suspect it is written by Vidyaranya. So many other reasons are there, but this is one. It follows what we just learned in the earlier session is the Abhasa model. Chit Chaya, the shadow of consciousness, the reflection of consciousness. Reflected consciousness, true, but what kind of reflected consciousness? It's a false reflected consciousness. Okay. Now let me quickly delineate these three. And this is all three will give us, which one is correct? All are correct because they all give us different facets of understanding. What are we trying to understand? One central question. How from Brahma Jiva came? How from pure consciousness we are this bundle of body-mind consciousness? So this is the answer, three answers. One answer is this one. What was the answer? Please take the mirror example. When the mirror comes in front of the face, a copy of the face is generated in the mirror. But that is not my real face. My real face is here. When the mind comes in front of consciousness, I'm talking in that language. Mind is illumined by consciousness. A reflection of consciousness is formed in the mind. Mind is like mirror, consciousness is like face, and reflected consciousness like reflected face. Just as reflected face is not my real face. Is the reflected face your real face? Not at all. Reflected face is not my real face. Reflected consciousness is not real. It's a part of the mind. It's an activity of the mind. In the presence of consciousness, it generates something like that. When the two interact, consciousness and the mind, you get a reflection in the mind, and the reflection is not real consciousness. Very much like reflected face in the mirror. Put 1,000 mirrors, you'll get 1,000 reflected faces. People ask, how is population increasing? If the jivas are there new jivas being created? Or animals are becoming humans? What? No, the more minds you project, the more jivas will appear, because same consciousness is being reflected in 1,000 different minds, million different minds, billion different minds, as many as you want. How many consciousnesses are there? One. How many are appearing? As many mirrors. Like barber shop. When you sit for a shave in the barber shop, have you seen your reflection in the mirror? How many? Endless. As many mirrors. And in the mirror also, reflection will be there. So many your own faces will be there. But actually real face is one. This is Abhasavada. Abhasa, appearance. That gives a clue that this author does not consider the reflection to be real consciousness. Abhasa, shadow. That's why he uses the term, very telling term, Chit Chaya, shadow. Like your own shadow, it's a shadow of consciousness. It's not really consciousness. This is one theory. But it has the properties and the powers. It has the powers of consciousness, because mind becomes conscious then. Body borrows consciousness. Just as the light reflected in a pot of water, it can illumine. Yeah. See, can you see this light reflected in that board there? Yes. Huh? Yeah. This is the original light. The board is like the mind, and the light reflected in the board is the reflected light. The reflected light can actually illumine. You put something in front of the board, you will see light is shining on it. Similarly, the mind illumined by reflected consciousness works like a conscious entity. You get the feeling of being conscious. It's a peculiar mixture of subjective and objective. If you try to catch the consciousness in the mind, you can never catch it. You always catch mind. And yet it feels conscious. All right. This is Abhasavada, false reflection theory. But now let us come to Pratibimbavada. Whose theory? Vivarana school. Pratibimbavada says the reflection is none other than the real consciousness. This has to be understood. What is it saying? Consciousness is reflected in the mind, and the reflection is actually the real consciousness. It's not false. Mind is false. And its involvement with the mind is false. But it is actually real consciousness. How? Follow this. When I see my face in the mirror, I what do? I use the face in the mirror to actually brush my teeth in my real face. Or decorate the face, put lipstick, powder, whatever you want to put and decorate the face. You never decorate the mirror. You don't record the reflected face. Therefore, here's a subtle point. Whenever we are in our day-to-day life, whenever we are seeing the mirror and our face in the mirror, our attention is actually on the real face. We are just using it as a support. Why? Because I can't see my real face. So when I'm seeing the reflected face in the mirror, I'm always thinking of it as my real face. And my activities are also with the real face. I don't do anything to that. At the most, I may polish the mirror to get a better reflection. But I'm not bothered at all with the reflection because I think the reflection is me. So whatever I use the reflection as the real face, in this sense, reflection goes back. Actually, they will say the face is reflected in the mirror, and the reflection goes back to the real face. Consciousness is reflected in mind, and it goes back to the real consciousness. You should treat the reflected consciousness, you should use it to go back to real consciousness, as you ordinarily use a mirror and your reflected face. You never go seeing the reflection in the mirror, oh, that's a false reflection. How to get a real reflection? No. The falsity of the reflection is immaterial. So do you see the difference between both the reflection theories, Pratibhimbavada and Abhasavada? Both will use mirror and face example. But they are using in two different senses. In Pratibhimbavada, what do you have to do? That is not real. The real one is here. Go from there. Don't say that. In Abhasavada, that is not real. The real one is here. In Pratibhimbavada, that one is the real here. Very little difference. Which one? Why would you say we prefer this Pratibhimbavada, not this one? You have to find clues. Ma Sharada is saying in different context. Chaya, Kaya, Ak. The shadow and the body are one. Which normally shadow and body are not one. By that, what she means is, the reflection you see in the face, to you for all practical purposes, it means this one. It doesn't mean that. You are not bothered with that at all. Your attention is drawn to the real face using the reflection. Do you see the subtle difference between Pratibhimbavada and Abhasavada? Real reflection theory and, it will come back, real reflection theory and false reflection theory. Do you see the difference? Pratibhimbavada and Abhasavada.
Maharaji, this is Mishraji's school of...
No, this is Vivarana school. Second one. Real reflection theory, Vivarana school. Mishraji's Vedanta will come next, third one. But now we go to Vachaspati Mishra's Avachedavada, limitation theory. He says, forget all this mirror, water, limitation business. Forget all this reflection business. It's too much complication. He says, the jiva is just a limitation of Brahman. How? This is a very good example. You can see. Can you see the blue sky through the window? Now, if you look through the window, you will find the blue sky is looking rectangular here. The blue sky is looking, if it's a circular window, sky will look circular. Not only that, each window will seem to have its own sky. And the sky will look small or big. Now notice, the sky is not small or big. The sky is limitless. The sky is not many, each window having its own sky. No, the sky is one. The sky is not circular, triangular, square. You see, this is like a big rectangle. The sky will look like that. There are two small rectangles there. The sky will look like two small rectangles if you see through that. Now, as the sky appears limited by these frames of windows, if you have a grill, it will become even more clear. A circle, triangle, many kinds of shapes. Through the sky will look like that. As it is like this, similarly through the upadhi, the frame of body-mind, upadhi is a technical term, because of the presence of the body-mind, consciousness appears limited. Mind appears, thoughts, ideas, memories, all that appear, and consciousness, those are like the window. And consciousness, it appears like a conscious mind. Associated with that body appears, it appears like a conscious body. So the upadhi is basically the antakarana, the mind, which appears in consciousness. Now what does this mean? It means something dramatic for us as spiritual seekers. Dramatic. Because what it means is, When you look at the sky through the window, yes, I know, rectangular sky, small sky, separate sky, all that okay. But when you're looking at the sky through the window, are you looking at the real sky or not? Yes. When you look at, when I'm seeing the sky through the window, am I looking at the real sky? Yes. It is not true that the sky is rectangular. It's not true that the sky belongs to this window. It's not true that the sky are many in each window. All those are false. But all the time I'm looking at the real sky. Vachaspati Mishra says, every time you notice or discern consciousness, you are experiencing Atman or Brahman. He says, don't listen to those reflection fellows. They'll just confuse you. Water, iron ball, all those things. No. Simple limitation. In limitless sky of consciousness, Chidakasha, because of Maya, mind appears. Mind appears. And through the mind we are experiencing consciousness. That's why it feels like a conscious mind. But you are experiencing Atman. All the time. You are experiencing Brahman. All the time. This is the special power of the Avacheda, limitation theory. All three theories are supported by Shankaracharya. Now, moving on. Remember, he isolated ego from everything else? Why did he do that? I promise there is some wonderful analytical, forensic investigation coming. He's going to answer some very important questions which will come up in our mind. Why am I associated? I am Sakshi. Why am I associated with this body? And how will I be free of this body? How will I be real Sakshi, free of this body? Why am I associated with this mind? How will I be free of this mind? I, the pure consciousness, what is my relation with the body? What is my relation with the mind? What is my relation with the ego? So these questions will be answered now. Number 8. Ahankarasya tadatmyam Ahankarasya tadatmyam Chichaya deha sakshibhihi Chichaya deha sakshibhihi Sahajam karmajam bhranti Sahajam karmajam bhranti Janyam cha trividham kramat Janyam cha trividham kramat. The identification of the ego with the reflection of consciousness, body and witness are of three kinds, namely natural, due to past karma and due to ignorance respectively. Okay. He's giving us forensic analysis and a great way to do sadhana. That you are pure consciousness, Sakshi, this was explored in the beginning. The problem is all this is very new to us. For a jnani, it's a fact. For us, it's a new thing. Do I really understand it? It does not seem quite real to me. It's not yet a fact to me. All these are our complaints. Now, he says, all right, relax. What's the last thing that you are aware of as a fact now? Last means subtlest thing, final thing, ego. I. Body I am aware of. Mind I am aware of, body I am aware of, breath I am aware of, mind I am aware of, buddhi I am aware of, beyond buddhi, blank in deep sleep, that also I am aware of. I, the ego, is the final thing I am aware of, right now in the waking state. The final thing, which is common to everybody, that I am there, this I. He says, all right, let's focus our investigation on that I. We will base our, let is the base of operations for us. Earlier, what was the base? What he pointed out? Sakshi. And from Sakshi we did everything, which is very fine, but it's not entirely real to us yet. But ego is very real to us. So, all right, we will go from ego to Sakshi. We will go from the reflected face to real face. Like the fish, we will make that turn. Like Greg Good, we will objectify the ego and then go from the ego to Sakshi. Like this window and sky, we will go from the sky in the window to sky. That we will do. How? Focus on the ego. Now ask yourself 3 questions. What is the link of the ego I sense with body? What is the link? How is the ego connected to this body? Because when the body appears, I feel I am this body. Important question. Second, what is the nature of the connection between ego and reflected consciousness? The ego is shining with reflected consciousness. What is the nature of the connection between iron ball and fire? Where exactly? And third, what is the nature of the connection between ego and Sakshi? Ultimately, I am pure consciousness. Right now, my position is I am ego. And you, Vedanta, Dṛg-Dṛśya-Viveka, telling me I am Sakshi. I want to know the connection, the pathway, the link, so that I can go. Yeah. So, we'll see. Now, he has given us the answers. Beautiful verse. What is the link between ego and body? Karmajanyam. Due to past karma. This ego will be connected with this body because of past karma. You, the jiva, I, the jivatma, ego. Many lifetimes, I have accumulated a lot of karma that is generating bodies lifetime after lifetime. This is my present body. And I have a set of karma which is fueling this body and giving me many experiences in this life. That is called prarabdha karma. This ego is connected to this body. Why did I get this body, these parents, this life? Your karma. Which part of my karma? That part which is active now, called prarabdha karma. And implying, when the prarabdha karma runs out, then the implication should be, are you saying that my connection with this body is due to prarabdha karma? Yes. Prarabdha karma will be finished? Yes. What will happen then? Will I get rid of this body? Yes. That's what's called death. At death, you will lose connection with this body. Ego will still persist, but you will not feel I am this body. Then if they take it and burn it, you have no problem, because you will get another body. Then the ego will become, this ego itself will be connected with that body, that baby then, no longer with this dead body. So my connection with this body, my link is my own karma. What is my link with reflected consciousness? This is sahajam, like a mirror, natural link. If I have a mirror and you stand in front of it, your face will be reflected in the mirror. Naturally so. As long as mirror is there, reflected face will be there. You cannot separate. The only way to get rid of the mirror is to get rid of the reflected face. A reflected face is to get rid of the mirror also. Shut it down in deep sleep, in deep meditation, you will find Chidavasa, this reflected consciousness also will disappear. But as long as ego is there, it will be a conscious ego. Notice, as long as you see I, conscious I. You will never feel reflected consciousness without ego. You will never feel ego without reflected consciousness. The mirror is the ego. Mirror is the ego. And the consciousness in the mirror is reflected. The face in the mirror is the reflected consciousness in the ego. No, this we are doing Avasavada only. This is the model of this book. Avachedavada will take us on a different track.
Can we go a little slower on this one?
Yes. So, let me repeat then what this verse has told us. Relax. Just look at the last thing you can catch about yourself, because the whole inquiry is who am I? So, in your who am I, make the utmost effort. What's the last thing you find? I. Okay. I meaning the ego, which everybody experiences, the sense of ego. Focus on that. Now, 3 questions are being asked, and these are our own questions. What is my I? What is my connection with this body? How did I get this body? How long will I be connected to this body? What will happen later on? All these questions are connected. What is my business with this body? Answer was karma. You, the ego, you are part of the mind. This mind is part of the jivatma, which has come through many lifetimes. We have a lot of baggage. And part of that baggage has been opened, and this body is the result. As long as that part of our karma is active, prarabdha karma, we will get many experiences. Prarabdha karma determines the big things in our life. Parents, birth, gender, health, illness, ayu, length of life, and big things in marriage, spiritual life, guru, all of these things, they are part of our prarabdha karma. They will come by prarabdha karma. And at one time it will come to an end. As that prarabdha karma is exhausted, this body will die. At that time, I, the ego, will have no more connection with this body. I will go on to another body. This is answer to question. Question 1, answer 1. Question 2, more subtle. Stay with the ego. Isn't the ego a conscious ego? Are you not feeling, not only feel I, but it's conscious I. You always feel, whenever you feel I, it's a conscious I. Ego, conscious ego. That is the reflected consciousness in the ego, which he talked about earlier. So, what is the connection between me, the ego, and this reflected consciousness, this light? I am shining with light. What is my connection? And the answer is, it's a natural connection. What does natural connection mean? As long as ego is there, it will reflect consciousness. It will borrow consciousness. As long as mirror comes in front of your face, it will have a reflected face. What is the relationship between mirror and reflected face? Natural. If mirror is there, face will be reflected. Of course, because if you are in front of the mirror. As long as mirror is there, the face will be reflected. If you cover the mirror, no reflection. If the mind goes to sleep, no sense of ego. I mean, even mind is the ego actually. So if the ego goes to sleep, no reflected consciousness. Ego is like the mirror. And reflected consciousness is the consciousness which you feel now. So that's the second question. What is the relationship between ego, ahankara, and chit chaya or chidabhasa, reflected consciousness? Third question, the real question. What is the relationship between this me and the real me? Between ego and pure consciousness, sakshi. Because that is the path I will have to trace. And he says, ignorance. One sadhu put it, Bevkufi matra hai Mahatma ji. Let me ask you, remember, now you can see the importance of abhasavada. Let me ask you, what is the connection between, actual physical connection between the reflected face in the mirror and my face here? What connection? What is linking them? Nothing. Nothing. Break the mirror, nothing to me, because I know I am not there. Change the mirror, concave mirror, convex mirror, the reflection will keep changing. Nothing happens to my face because they are not connected. You are not connected with your reflection. This is abhasavada. Now you see the distinction between pratibhimbavada and abhasavada. Pratibhimbavada will insist you go back from the reflection to your real face. But abhasavada will say, abandon, jettison that reflected face. Let many reflections come. Let many reflections go. You are not dependent on the reflection. You have no connection. In one place, Sri Ramakrishna makes a mysterious statement in the gospel, which there is no explanation in the context. He says, if I keep looking at my face in the mirror, people will think I am crazy. Which means, in the Vedantic context, you, the real face, are not at all dependent on the mind, that means the ego, and the reflected consciousness in the ego. You, the real consciousness, witness consciousness, you are not the ego. You are not even the reflected consciousness in the ego. Here is the difference between abhasavada and pratibhimbavada. Pratibhimbavada will say, no, the reflected consciousness in the ego is you. Here you are saying, ego is a mirror. Reflected consciousness is my reflected face. I am not the mirror, I am not the reflected face also. Then why do I feel I am that? Ignorance. Ignorance. How do I cut these connections? 3 connections, 3 operations, 3 procedures have to be performed. How do I cut these connections? Between ego and body, death. Death. When the prarabdha karma runs out, so I should kill myself. No, don't. It will increase your prarabdha karma manifold. Debit balance. Suicide is always highly not recommended. It will generate more bad karma. But at one point the body will die. So the link between the ego and the body will snap. How do I cut the relationship between ego and reflected consciousness? You cannot. As long as ego is there, reflected consciousness will be there. It will feel like a conscious ego. I don't like this, I'm suffering so much. Then they do. Drugs, drinking, falling asleep, unconsciousness. That is the reason people don't want to be conscious. Why? The ego is connected with all the contents of the mind and body, and all the troubles the ego takes upon itself, because it is connected to all the troubles. It is mental illness, physical illness, financial trouble, relationship troubles. All of them are directly connected to the body and the mind and the ego. You cannot deny. So what happens, the only way out is, I don't want to be conscious. Drug, alcohol, unconsciousness. I want to be unconscious. I can't bear it anymore. Ultimately, suicide. None of them will solve it. Prarabdha karma will generate the mind, activate the mind, and ego will be produced again. Again, it will reflect consciousness. So, that which is a natural connection, as long as one of those two entities is there, that means the mirror is there, reflection will be there. Ego is there, it will be conscious ego. Reflected consciousness will be there. Then, most important, understood all this, but between I, the ego, and the real I, pure consciousness, how do I cut? You said ignorance is the link. Bevkufi matra. How do I cut that? I want to snap it. I want to remain as, not ego, as Sakshi. I want to get rid of this ego fellow. How? Bodha, enlightenment, Brahma Jnana, realization. I am consciousness. That is the cutting. If the link is ignorance, if your bondage is ignorance, the only operation that will work, snip it, is jnana, knowledge. The sudden realization, oh, that's the mirror and that's the reflected face. I have nothing to do with it. Be happy. I never had anything to do with it. Go to the ego, settle down there, be aware of the conscious ego, then from there take this turn. You use Greg Good's method if you want, and 6 methods he will give us soon. And see, I am not the ego. Even that is not necessary. That first teaching itself, shloka number 1 in Dṛg-Dṛśya-Viveka, that itself does this job of snapping the distinction between you. Drashta and Drishya cannot be the same. Seer and seen cannot be the same. The ego is seen. You are the seer of the ego. Done? You are not the ego. You are not the ego is not you. Then ego, its reflected consciousness, its mind, its body, all of them are not you. Let them appear, let them play around, let them live, let them die. Let them go to, we will not say go to hell, go to heaven also, let them go. I am limitless consciousness. How will that sky, avachedavada, how will that sky detach itself from the square sky? Step back from the square window. I have nothing to do with the square window. I am sky. I always was. Not only that, afterwards, I can again come through the square window and function as the sky in the square window, always retaining my knowledge as the vast sky. That will be Jivan Mukta sky. Jivan Mukta window sky. After realizing I am the real face, you can happily use a mirror. That's our condition every day in the morning. Are we scared of the mirror? Oh no, I'll be trapped. The mirror will reflect me. Done. I'll be gone and I'm there in the mirror now. Oh my God. That's our condition right now. Vedanta points out the real face and says, be there. Afterwards, use the mirror. Reflect your face in the mirror. Shave, brush your teeth, apply powder, lipstick, whatever you want to do. No problem at all. Why? Barber shop. Why one mirror? No need to be afraid. Put 1,000 mirrors, 1,000 faces. Be happy. Because you are detached. Jivan Mukta. You have to go to Vedantic barber shop for that. Now let us go ahead.
Swami, is Pratibhimbavada also same approach then to get the...
Same, but you remember the distinction I made between false reflection and real reflection. One is, the reflected face is not me. It's false. Other one is, the reflected face is me, not there, here. Both will work.
So that means ego continues after death also.
Which one?
Ego is continuing after
Yes, mind will continue after that. That is the whole of Vedanta, the subtle body. Not only Vedanta, every Indian philosophy, in fact, every religion will say that. To say that the mind does not continue after death is materialism. At physical death, everything is over. Then the retreat can be shut down.
So there are many egos and one Atma, one consciousness.
Correct.
But
Maharaj, in spiritual practice, you try to reduce the ego or try to make it work. We work on the ego.
Yes.
Not on the connection if you talk about it.
Correct. He says in spiritual practice we work on the ego. Good. Always work on the ego. We reduce the ego, purify the ego. Swami Vivekananda says, here is the crux of all sadhana which we do. Karma, bhakti, dhyana, not jnana. Karma, bhakti, dhyana. Swami Vivekananda says, all we can do is polish the mirror. Inspired Talks, you will see. One sentence is there. All we can do is polish the mirror. Then, the purified ego, from that to detach pure consciousness or sakshi from the purified ego is much easier. One sadhu put it very beautifully. He said in Hindi, simple Hindi, छोड़ोगे तो सही, तनिक साफ करके छोड़ो. You will let go. तनिक साफ करके छोड़ो. Let us do one more verse because it completes the topic. Number 9. Sambandhino satornasti, Sambandhino satornasti, Nivritti sahajasyatu, Nivritti sahajasyatu, Karmakshayat prabodhacha, Karmakshayat prabodhacha, Nivartete kramadubhe, Nivartete kramadubhe. The mutual identification of the ego and reflection of consciousness, which is natural, does not cease as long as they are taken to be real. The other two identifications disappear after wearing out of the result of karma and attainment of the knowledge of the highest reality, respectively. Sometimes the translations can be misleading unless explained properly. They do mutual identification of the ego and reflection of consciousness, which is natural, does not cease as long as they are taken to be real. That part, as long as they are taken to be real, spoils the whole thing. Yeah. Look, the original verse did not say that. This over-explanation, it confuses the issue. Actually, the matter is simple. He is answering the question. I, the ego, am connected with body, with reflected consciousness, and I suppose with my real consciousness, with real sakshi, with my real nature, the real I. How can I cut these connections? And he says, karmakshayat. When prarabdha karma is over, this body will die. You, the ego, you will not feel this is my body anymore. They can take it and burn it or bury it or whatever. But I will establish new connection with new body because of prarabdha karma. So that is karmakshayat, by the eventual exhaustion of prarabdha karma. Second, how do I cut the connection with reflected consciousness? Ego is shining in consciousness. How do I? You cannot. Sambandhino sator nasti nivrittasya sahajasyatu. Nivritti sahajasyatu. Sahaja, the natural connection between mirror and reflection, will not go away as long as the sambandhis, the two related points, the two related terms, as long as they are in relation, it will not go away. Here the answer, see, the translation, as long as they are taken to be real, that's not the point. The point here is, sambandhina sato, as long as they exist in connection with each other. As long as they exist, as long as the mirror and the reflected face, they exist in connection with each other, the connection will not be snapped. As long as the one is existing in the presence, the one is presented, the other will appear. When the mirror is removed, reflected face will go away. When ego goes to sleep, then reflected consciousness will go away. And that happens every day when we go to sleep. That's what is meant. Not that realizing that they are true or false, that's not the point. Then the real answer. What about me and the real I? He says, prabodhacha, by enlightenment, by realizing that I am sakshi. How do I do that prabodha? How do I perform that operation between ego and sakshi? Is Dṛg-Dṛśya-Viveka. Snip, cut, Dṛg-Dṛśya-Viveka. What is that? Is the knowledge, prabodha, that I am the drashta. I am not the ego. Then we can sing honestly with Shankaracharya. Mano buddhya ahankara chittani naham. See, ahankara na aham. This is prabodha. The real aham, sakshi. Ahankara, false aham. How did I do this? By knowledge. What is the knowledge? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Question: why am I not the Ahankara? It feels that I am the Ahankara. Because Ahankara is object. Courtesy, Greg Good's exercise. You clearly felt the Ahankara as an object. Who felt? That is Sakshi. Then that knowledge will cut the link between you and the Ahankara. Not that the Ahankara will stop appearing. Body will appear, mind will appear, Ahankara will appear. But you know I am not it. I am not the window and a little bit of sky in the window. I am the vast sky. Then I can work through the window. As long as the window is there, I can work through the window.
प्रबोध से मनोनाश हो जाएगा?
That's a different topic. That is the tanik saaf karke manonasa vasanakshaya. Prabodh will not take care of it actually. Prabodh will be tattva-jnana. We are asking about jivan mukti. Tattva-jnana, manonasha, vasanakshaya. Prabodha will take care of this tattva-jnana. I will realize aham brahmasmi or aham sakshyasmi. And vasanakshaya, manonasha requires sadhana. Then only jivan mukti siddhi.
You said sadhana is all on the level of mind.
Sadhana is all on the mirror. Sadhana is ultimately the ego, polishing the mirror.
So without polished mirror, one can become enlightened.
One can realize, but it will be a very troubled realization. The Vedantic, the sadhus here, they know this. Many people have experienced, and they know this problem. They call it, they say, आप जीवन मुक्ति के विलक्षण सुख से वंचित रह जाएंगे. After all, what was your goal? Your goal was ananda prapti dukkha nivritti. If by this realization, this clarity, I have really got it, I am Sakshi, I have got it. But will you overcome sorrow and will you get fulfillment? The results will not flow. They are being obstructed by the lack of the initial qualifications. See, it's not Vedanta's fault. Vedanta insists on sadhana chatushtaya, fourfold qualification. That fourfold qualification is born of sadhana. So sadhana must go on. Sadhana must go on. Yesterday who was saying, prarabdha karma, suffer, serve, sadhana. How does prarabdha karma get exhausted? Only by suffering. Spiritual practice? Well, if you serve, seva, that will reduce your prarabdha karma. If you do spiritual sadhana, japa, dhyana, puja, or whatever sadhana you do, that will also reduce your prarabdha karma. So three things, three options of reducing prarabdha karma. Suffering, service, spiritual practice. If I do service and spiritual practice, by spiritual practice it means bhakti and dhyana. If I do all of that, that is karma yoga, bhakti yoga and raja yoga, then my suffering will be much less. Much less. Did I do the Shanti mantra? No. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.